In the last few months, undocumented immigrants across the country have been tricked into showing up for fake court dates that were purposely set up by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Joining me to talk about this is RT correspondent Brigida Santos. Brigida, give me the details of this story.
Well, Mike, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has been sending undocumented immigrants notices to appear in court with dates and times that have never actually been scheduled by the courts. Now, the notices also contain dates that don't exist, like the 31st day of a 30-day month, and times like midnight when courts aren't even open. As a result, hundreds of immigrants have shown up at courts across the country for no reason. And since this practice began in June, abnormally long lines have been reported at immigration courts in at least 10 cities, including Los Angeles, Chicago, Boston, Orlando, and Atlanta, to name a few.
All right, well, I'm wondering, as you said, this started in June. That's when the Supreme Court issued a ruling in a case that was specific. Sessions was a proponent of the ruling. How does that case tie into the fake notices here? How does all that tie together?
Well, since 1997, judges have been able to cancel removal orders of non-citizens who meet certain requirements, which include being physically present in the U.S. for a continuous period of time, 7 years for legal permanent residents and 10 years for non-legal permanent residents. This case focused on whether the government could stop an immigrant's time from accruing by sending them a notice to appear in court that did not specify a time, date, and place for deportation proceedings. A lot of times they just say the information is to be determined. And ultimately, the Supreme Court ruled that the time stop rule could not be triggered by such a vague notice because that meant the notice didn't actually meet the legal definition of a notice to appear. And since the court issued this ruling at the end of June, ICE has been sending immigrants notices to appear with fake dates on them just to ensure that they can't accrue enough consecutive time to become eligible for deportation relief. So that's what this is about.
Okay. So, I mean, anybody watching this has got to ask, how can this be legal? I mean, obviously, that's the first part of the question. Is there anything immigrants can do to avoid showing up to fake court dates? I mean, that's anybody listening to this story has got to say, well, those are two things that certainly should come to their mind. What's your take?
Well, it's not clear whether this is legal, but someone is going to have to challenge this new round of dysfunction in the courts to determine that. Now, until then, the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice say that they're working through what they're calling logistical errors of the Trump administration's controversial immigration policies. As for what immigrants can do, immigration lawyers have already been confirming whether these court dates are real before they send their clients to court. But immigrants without representation have been instructed to call the Immigration and Customs Enforcement hotline to match their registration numbers with court dates that are listed on the notices. Still, many immigrants are showing up regardless, even if they think these dates are fake, because they're simply afraid of having a deportation order that's issued without them being present. They do not trust the system, and for good reason.
Well, one thing that they were caught doing something similar is a lot of times when people show up for these hearings, they have with them their family members, and it may be friends and family members that show up. And they were using that as a way to identify those people and say, well, we got you. You're in line. We've been looking for you. You don't even qualify for this court hearing. You're here illegally. And they would use that as a kind of as a come on to get people to show up in these kinds of lines. Of course, you've seen that with other kinds of cases too, where the law enforcement will set some kind of trap to have people show up at a party or whatever it may be, and there they've got them. So early on, there was some discussion about whether or not this was one of those ruses to have people show up. What do you think of the chances of anything meaningful coming out of this as far as the government really changing the way they're doing this? My guess is that we'll see really nothing actually happen. And based on the way that the American attitude is going about immigration right now, it's not like most people would pay attention to that or be concerned about that, unfortunately. What's your take?
Yeah, I think people are concerned and they want to see changes made. But again, if the Trump administration is now using the Department of Justice to send out fake notices, and it's going to come down to whether somebody else is going to next challenge that in the Supreme Court, then we're just going to see this cycle where they keep creating new loopholes and ways to treat immigrants this way.
Yeah, that's the way I see it too. This doesn't go away with any court ruling. Thank you for joining me, Brigida.
Thanks, Mike.